I'm Allendale's chief meteorologist Ryan Martin with a look at your midday weather update. Latest surface analysis across the center part of the country is a little bit surprising here at midday. We've got low pressure near Sioux Falls, South Dakota, not a surprise there, and the surface trough that comes out of that isn't a surprise. It was there this morning, so whoop-de-doo. But we've actually seen some widespread shower and thunderstorm action activate behind the trough across the western half of Kansas, down into the Texas Panhandle, extreme western Oklahoma, and you know what? We're seeing some of this into south central and even eastern parts of Nebraska. This moisture, to be blunt, shouldn't be there, but it is. So there's just enough leftover lingering moisture in the atmosphere that we're seeing some activation in and around this weak low and this surface trough. Now, will this do anything to change the overall scenario going forward? Probably not. In the Corn Belt, we think we're not looking at any serious precipitation until sometime later Sunday into Monday and Tuesday. That's when a monster low tries to circulate through. The low that front comes out of right now is in northern parts of Saskatchewan, trying to move into extreme northern Manitoba. The cold front out of it goes back through parts of western, north, and South Dakota, and then kind of tails off through Idaho, Wyoming, places like that. So the front's got a ways to go. But this moisture that's in advance of it, that's what's real interesting to me. And it will be very interesting to see if it holds together, if it blows up, if it gets bigger, what's it going to do here as we go forward. Latest model imagery into us right now doesn't show anything that's exceptionally exciting. We're not changing the forecast in a big way from this morning. We will grant you that short term, that looks like a pretty decent pattern. The front coming through Monday, Tuesday, even Sunday afternoon, depending on where you're at. Yeah, it's going to put down some moisture. 1/10 to maybe 4/10 of an inch before all is said and done. Coverage about, I'll say 60% of the Corn Belt, maybe 50% of the plains. But where we get a little bit interesting and squirrely then is behind that front. Models have flip-flopped, especially the GFS, in a big, big way as to whether or not we're going to be getting a major cold air blast in here. And if we do, is there going to be plenty of rain ahead of it or not? The latest rounds of the GFS have backed off of the cold air, and they've increased the warm air ahead of the front so that we could see more moisture. I guess I'm not a big fan of that solution right now. Prior model guidance seems to be trending another way. So I'm not one to jump on the flip-flops in a big way, but it's something that we're definitely going to have to watch as we go through the weekend to see if there's going to be anything significant that wants to try and develop toward the end of next week on these models. Right now, I really like the European solution when you get right down to it. It is a colder solution, which I think has plenty of backing behind it, and therefore it is also a drier solution as we go longer term. I'm looking right now at the 10-day setup for the overall model, and it does say drier here to start, and then it does put a little bit of moisture in as we go through the weekend and into the later stages of next week, followed by another major cold push. Right now, I don't think we're going to do anything but to leave the forecast alone. 1/2 inch or less, well, let's say 1/4 to 3/4 of an inch out of the system toward the end of next week, but it's going to be very hit and miss, maybe 50% of the region. And then we're going to be following that up with temperatures that are going to be very, very cool for this time of year as we flip the calendar over into early November. What about the longer-term pattern? Well, that too looks wetter on the GFS than it has the past few days. I'm actually seeing a pattern that shows several lows coming in, one behind the other, on the European. That makes sense to me, but the first one or two, as we go into November, seems to shift by farther to the north. So I'm not looking for widespread rain over the entire Corn Belt till closer to about the 7th or 8th. I think once that gets here, though, we will see some very good moisture, potentially an inch or more. So if you're looking at this from the harvest standpoint across the Corn Belt and the plains, minimal delays here through the first part of the forecast, ramping our chances for delays up a little bit as we go toward the end of the forecast period. So, a lot of the traders are looking right now for the crop progress report to show some pretty good gains as we go through Monday afternoon. We're going to need those because we might have to slow things down a little bit once we get toward, the 4th, 5th, and beyond with that big system coming. Temperatures cool, but then we see a big a swing in the temperatures, a big ridge trying to form over the western United States again. So even though it does get chilly, I think we're going to swing the pendulum back the other way. We're not looking at it getting cold and staying cold for perhaps just a little bit longer. Looks like that, in my opinion, probably won't happen until we get into late November. We are looking at a winter, though, that's similar to last year in terms of how it starts. Once the cold air shows up, boom, it's here, and it stays. That's the way your forecast is stacking up at midday. We will watch these models very, very closely through the weekend and be back on Monday with an update. Have a great weekend. If you've got any questions on the weather in the meantime, give us a call at Allendale. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin.